Hey guys, Jim here. Welcome back once again. I would like to now get into this brand new Ketuo USA knife. And I'm probably going to be mispronouncing the name. It is either Kamasu or Kamasu. I'm not entirely certain which. And I apologize for that because I do not speak Japanese. And this is a Japanese name for Barracuda. So I apologize once again if I'm going to be mispronouncing this name throughout this entire video. But one thing I do know is I really like the feel of this knife overall. This is a larger size knife, something that you're going to want to check the knife laws in your state to make sure you can carry a blade this large. There are many restrictive states in the US that don't let you carry a 4-inch blade. Yep, that's a 4-inch blade packed in there, baby. And while you're going to instantly recognize this is a larger size knife when you first see it, after you played with it for a while, it somehow feels a little bit smaller. It's also surprisingly lightweight for its quite large size. Now, let's get down to the nitty-gritty. We're going to get to the TLDW. Too long didn't watch. And we'll do the pros and the cons. First pro for me is going to be the ergonomics. The way this handle is shaped, it starts off when you look at the spine section of the handle, you think to yourself, okay, this is going to be a very neutral feeling knife. And it still kind of is. I think a wide variety of hand sizes are going to fit into this very comfortably. But then you have this exaggerated swell here and an exaggerated finger choil here going up into the flipper tab that will double as a finger guard. And you realize this is a lot more ergonomically designed than you originally thought when you first looked at it. Especially when it's closed. When it's closed, you have this visual breakup of the lines with the spine of the blade, and it looks very straight all the way around. And only once you pick it up, you realize, oh wow, this is really super comfortable. Another pro for me is the angled bolster. I really like that look, and very few companies do it. When they do a bolstered look, they tend to be straight or they'll have some kind of little pattern, but I really like that visual breakup at the angle between the carbon fiber inlays and the bolster. I think it's really handsome. Kind of a classic look, nothing crazy, nothing over the top, and certainly not boring, at least not to my eyes. Now, this particular knife, it's marked on the box, was designed by Braden Sweeten. Now, that's a name that I was previously unfamiliar with. I apologize to Braden. Hey guys, sorry for the interruption, but I promise I will make this very brief. I want to thank those of you that have joined and become channel members. You are helping to support the channel and helping to continue the growth. And if you've been considering supporting the channel in any way, shape, or form, because I do not have channel sponsors, I don't shill anybody's products, I don't get paid for anything, I don't do affiliate links, so everything is completely self-funded. If you'd like to help out and watch the channel grow and get more great content coming your way, please do consider becoming a member. And I think he did a really great job. He's got a very clean design here. Nothing is overdone. I like the little additional pop of color with the blue anodized pivot ring, or pivot collar, excuse me. And while I would normally like fewer body screws, it's not a distraction. I think it was still done really nicely. Now, one of the other design aspects that I really appreciate is this, I'm going to call it a fuller, but it's not really a fuller. But it's ground in like a fuller. This fuller that splits the handle on both sides. Now, I like the feel when I'm holding the knife because my fingertips kind of drop into it. And one of the things I really like about it is on the back side, it's actually splitting the lock bar. So what that's doing, number one, they did a great job with not putting the clip right onto the lock bar cutout. That's going to make it easier to get into the pocket. But that is actually dropped into this channel, making it a little bit more effective for holding tightly in the pocket. Now, it's a tightly sprung clip, but it's not overly tight. It's absolutely not a challenge to get in or out of the pocket. Great, great design on that. Now, cons. There's not a lot, but there are some. One is there's something about the bearings that they're using. I can actually feel the balls rolling as it's being flipped. Now, I don't notice it quite as much when I'm kind of doing it slow like this, but it's got a really, really nice action. It's very fast as far as the quickness of it goes. Smoothness as far as I can feel something in the bearings, or I can also feel the detent ball on the blade because it's not broken in yet. It's not glass smooth in that respect. But it's the only knife that I can remember actually feeling like that. The only other con for me is where your finger lands after hitting the flipper tab. Now, they've actually chamfered a channel in here, but the unfortunate thing is there is a very steep kind of plunge at the end of it. Instead of being a smoother sweep, when your finger comes off that flipper tab, you go right to these two little corners. They're not overly sharp or anything, but you'll feel them, you'll notice them. And if you feel it and you notice it and you feel it after only a couple of flips, if you're the kind of person that's going to sit there and break in your knife and flip a knife 200-300 times in the first couple of days, that's going to begin to irritate your finger a little bit. You do feel it. That's about the only two things that really aren't absolutely 100% perfect about this knife. Everything else is great. I love the hidden lanyard post. They did a great job with that. Pocket clip is well made, well machined, well placed, and it's pocketed. The overall balance of the knife is really, really good, visually and in the hand. Like I said, it's a lot lighter weight than you would expect it to be. We'll drop in the specs right here for you. So I'm not going to belabor this and read them line by line by line all the way through. You could pause the video and read it for yourself. But basically, you've got an M390 blade in a 4-inch size. Handle length is 5 inches. Everything on here is titanium. All the hardware, the frame lock, the bolsters, everything is all titanium. And then you do have a stainless steel lock insert. So you have steel on steel lockup. And that's pretty much all that for the specs. Now, my personal thoughts on the knife and a little bit of story time. Now, Braden has actually talked about his design here, and what he says is, from the beginning, I wanted my designs to be different in a way that felt right, like it reached back in the past and brought it up to today. He wanted a simple but elegant geometry for this knife, something that felt really good in the hand. It was functional and smooth to open, and I think he did a great job all the way around nailing all those points. He says it's definitely a full-size knife, but feels smaller than it measures. Yep, I felt the same way. Now, it's not massively smaller. You're not going to think of this as like a 3¼ inch blade. You do notice the size, but it kind of disappears a little bit once you played with it for a few minutes. That's what I find pretty interesting. And then he goes on to talk about the jimping. He says it has some simple jimping along the blade and the back spacer. Cut in a way that's not sharp, but gives great traction when you need it. And yeah, I mean, it feels good. It's a little slick. It's not super grabby, but yeah, I don't think anybody's going to have any issues with it. A little bit of jimping back there would have been nice, but yeah. So it feels good. It's certainly not sharp. It's not going to cut your fingers up. You're not going to feel like you're holding a cheese grater. And he says the blade shape is very useful and a great slicer, and it gives a nod to the Japanese katana sword. And you can certainly see that. I think it's a great shape. I love reverse tantos. I think they're very, very useful. You've got a nice strong tip here. They didn't go down too thin, which is a mistake some brands have made. So you've got a fairly reinforced tip. You've got a lot of belly to that blade as well. So you've got lots of cutting options. Now you're not going to be able to rock back very far because you've got that flipper tab in the way, but you still have some belly there, and it's going to be easy to slice into things with the shape of that blade, and a very useful tip for piercing and gouging and all that kind of good stuff as well. Now, overall, do I think it's worth the money? Yeah, absolutely. It feels great. It's a very, very handsome design. And if you like Japanese influenced designs, I think that this is going to be a great way to go, a great addition to your collection. And it's not quite a folding pocket sword, but you do have that kind of feeling to it between the design and the size of it. And the great thing is you've got a full-size folder here that doesn't feel like it's weighing you down. There are plenty of knives out there in a 4-inch blade, in a frame lock folder, and they feel like they weigh a ton. They're 6, 7, even 8 ounces in some cases. And this just doesn't feel laborious to carry it around. I've carried it now for about a week, on and off, in between this and a couple of other knives. And it's felt like I've had something substantial when I've got it out in my hand, and it feels like it's going to be very, very useful for everyday cutting tasks, but it doesn't take up the entire pocket. Now, if you're wearing little skinny jeans, then yeah, maybe it's probably going to take up the majority of your pocket, but that ain't me, so I'm not too worried about that. So overall, clean design, nice, small little details that make this stand out from a lot of other designs that are out there. Love the pocket clip, love the accordion style lock bar cut. I wish that the detent was sharper. I wish the detent was not really stronger. I just wish that it had a little bit more sharpness to it so that you couldn't really fail it. If I really work at this, I can get it to just barely open, and it may not go to full lock. It'll kind of like be, it'll kind of go there. Oh, you know what, though? The lockup is really good. So even if I barely do it and the blade just barely opens, let me get it past the detent here. It's still got just enough lock bar strength to pop it fully into lock position. Let's give it a good hard flip, and then you can see the comparison there. Would you like me to give you a close-up? I can do that. So if I just manually do it and very slowly bring it past the lock, it springs over about, I'd call that 20%. If I give it a good hard flip, it is pretty much at the exact same place. So it's not a major complaint. I just wish it had that super crisp, awesome flipping action, because overall, this whole design is so fantastic. It's so well thought out that I think it would just be a little bit more fun that way. Anyway, them's my thoughts. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. You can go over to Ketuo USA and purchase this directly right now. They have them in stock. And the link in the description below is the direct link. It's not an affiliate link. No money has exchanged hands here. They're not paying me any money to come out here and give you a link and all that kind of good stuff. So feel free to click away and grab one for yourself. It's not a pre-order. They are live. They are ready to go. So if you order it, you'll have it in your hands in a couple of days. All right, that's it for me, and I'll see you guys on the next video.